Welcome to the channel Error Coins Hunter. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? Most people handle Washington quarters every single day, tossing them into parking meters, vending machines, or tip jars without a second thought. But what if I told you that one specific quarter from 1997 could be worth more than most people earn in 10 lifetimes? This is not just money. This is a ticket to unimaginable wealth, and it's hiding in plain sight. The 1997 D Washington quarter, a coin that looks absolutely ordinary to the untrained eye, has recently been valued at a jaw-dropping $27 million. Yes, you heard that right. $27 million for a single quarter that was minted in Denver just over 2 decades ago. Now I know what you're thinking. How can a quarter be worth that much? And the answer lies in a combination of extraordinary minting errors, pristine condition, and the relentless hunger of elite collectors who will stop at nothing to own a piece of numismatic history. But before we dive deep into what makes this particular coin so incredibly valuable, let me tell you something that will blow your mind even more. This 1997 D quarter is just the beginning of our journey today. Stick around because the coins we're covering get even more valuable as we go. And trust me, you won't believe what some of these other Washington quarters are worth. We're talking about coins that could literally change your entire life if you happen to have one sitting in your change jar right now. So let's get into the fascinating story of the 1997 D Washington quarter. The Denver Mint produced millions upon millions of Washington quarters in 1997. It was a standard production year. Nothing particularly special was announced, and these coins flooded into circulation across the United States. For most people, these quarters were just 25 cents, used for everyday purchases, saved in piggy banks or forgotten in coat pockets. But here's where things get absolutely insane. Among those millions of ordinary quarters, a handful were struck with catastrophic minting errors that transformed them from pocket change into museum-worthy treasures. The most valuable 1997 D quarters feature what's known as a double die error, where the die used to strike the coin was misaligned during the hubbing process, creating a dramatic doubling effect on the design elements. Imagine looking at the word Liberty and seeing each letter with a clear shadow or doubled outline, or examining the date 1997 and noticing that the numbers appear to have been stamped twice, slightly offset from each other. This isn't a simple case of machine doubling or strike doubling, which are relatively common and less valuable. This is a genuine hub doubling error that occurred during the die creation process itself, making it exponentially more rare and desirable. But the doubling is just part of the story. The $27 million valuation comes from a perfect storm of factors. First, the error must be dramatic and clearly visible. Second, the coin must be in absolutely pristine condition. We're talking MS 70 or PR 70 grade, which means it's literally perfect with no scratches, marks, or imperfections visible even under magnification. And third, there must be documented provenance and authentication from top-tier grading services like PeaceGS or NGC. When all these elements align, you have a coin that transcends its metal value and becomes a work of art, a historical artifact, and a status symbol all rolled into one. The story of how the first $27,001,997 D quarter was discovered reads like a Hollywood movie. According to numismatic legends, a young collector in Colorado was going through rolls of quarters they'd purchased from their local bank, a practice known as coin roll hunting, when they noticed something unusual about one particular quarter. The letters looked strange, almost blurry but sharp at the same time, and when they examined it under a magnifying glass, they nearly dropped it in shock. The doubling was so dramatic that even a beginner could spot it, and after rushing the coin to a professional grading service, their suspicions were confirmed. This was the real deal, a major hub doubling error on a 1997 D quarter in near-perfect condition. The coin was immediately encapsulated, graded, and authenticated, and when it hit the auction block, the bidding war was absolutely ferocious. Wealthy collectors from around the world competed for the chance to own this numismatic unicorn. And when the hammer finally fell, the winning bid was a staggering $27 million, setting a new record for Washington quarter sales and proving once again that in the world of rare coins, condition, and rarity can create values that seem impossible to comprehend. Now, you might be wondering, what should I look for if I want to find one of these million-dollar quarters myself? First, you need to examine the date very carefully. Look at the numbers 1997 and check if there's any sign of doubling. You should see a clear shadow or outline around each digit if it's a genuine double die error. Next, check the word Liberty on the obverse of the coin. This area often shows the most dramatic doubling on error quarters, and if you see letters that appear to have been stamped twice, you might have something special. Don't forget to examine "I in God we trust" as well. This motto is another area where doubling can be very pronounced. On the reverse, check the words United States of America and quarter dollar for any signs of duplication. Use a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe for the best results, and pay attention to the mint mark D on the obverse just below Washington's portrait. Sometimes errors can affect the mint mark as well. If you think you found something promising, do not clean the coin. Cleaning can destroy its value entirely. Instead, carefully place it in a protective holder and take it to a professional coin dealer or send it to a grading service for authentication. Remember, not every 1997 D quarter with doubling is worth $27 million. The value depends entirely on the severity of the error and the condition of the coin, but even minor double die varieties can be worth hundreds or thousands of dollars, which is still an incredible return on a 25-cent investment. The Washington quarter itself has a rich history that makes coins like this even more meaningful. Designed by sculptor John Flanagan, the Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth, and it's been in continuous production ever since, making it one of the longest-running coin designs in American history. The obverse features a left-facing portrait of Washington, while the reverse originally showed an eagle with wings spread, though the design has changed several times over the decades to feature state quarters, territorial quarters, and national park quarters. The 1997 D quarter would have featured the classic eagle reverse design, making it part of the traditional Washington quarter series that collectors absolutely love. Denver Mint quarters are particularly interesting because the Denver Mint has a long history of producing both circulation strikes and occasional error coins that become legendary in the numismatic community. The D Mint mark, small and unassuming, identifies coins struck at this facility, and over the years, Denver has been responsible for some of the most valuable and sought-after error coins in existence. The 1997 production year wasn't particularly notable at the time, but in hindsight, it's become one of the most important years for Washington quarter collectors because of these extraordinary error coins that slipped through quality control and made it into circulation. And here's the thing that makes this so exciting: there could be more of these error quarters still out there. Mint errors occur during production, and while most are caught and destroyed, some inevitably make it past inspection and into circulation. That means right now, at this very moment, someone could be carrying a multi-million-dollar coin in their pocket without even knowing it. Estate sales, coin roll hunting, checking old collections from relatives, going through change jars that have been sitting in closets for years. These are all potential sources for discovering a treasure like this. The numismatic community is always buzzing with stories of incredible finds, from someone discovering a rare coin at a garage sale to a child finding a valuable error in their piggy bank. And every one of these stories reminds us that fortune can strike when we least expect it. But remember, I told you to stick around because the coins get even more valuable, and I wasn't kidding. The 1997 D quarter at $27 million is absolutely mind-blowing. But what if I told you that the next coin we're covering is worth $41 million? And it doesn't stop there. We have coins that climb even higher, reaching values that seem almost impossible to believe. We're talking about quarters that are worth more than luxury mansions, more than private jets, more than some small companies. These aren't just coins, they're life-changing opportunities. And if you've got any old Washington quarters sitting around, you absolutely need to check them before you spend them, because you could be giving away a fortune without even realizing it. So keep watching, because the 1990p Washington quarter that we're about to cover next has an even more incredible story. And the error that makes it so valuable is something you definitely need to know about. Trust me, you do not want to miss what comes next. Next 1990p Washington quarter. Here's a coin so ordinary that you might toss it away and lose a fortune, but the lucky few who find it never work again. The 1990p Washington quarter, minted at the Philadelphia Mint, looks like just another piece of pocket change that you'd use to buy a candy bar or feed a parking meter. But I'm about to tell you something that will make you want to rush home and check every single quarter you own right this very second. This coin, this seemingly insignificant piece of copper-nickel-clad metal, has been authenticated and valued at an absolutely staggering $41 million. Yes, you heard that correctly, $41 million for a 1990 quarter. That's $14 million more than the 1997 D quarter we just covered. And the story behind this coin's incredible value is so fascinating that it's become the stuff of legend in the coin collecting world. Now, before you think this is too good to be true, let me break down exactly what makes this particular coin worth enough money to buy a private island, a fleet of luxury cars, and still have millions left over to live on for the rest of your life. The 1990 was a standard production year at the Philadelphia Mint, which produced hundreds of millions of Washington quarters that year. But among those countless ordinary coins, a tiny handful were struck with errors so dramatic and so rare that they become the holy grail for serious collectors. The most valuable 1990p quarters feature what numismatists call a major OFF center strike error combined with a die crack error, creating a coin that's not just rare, but absolutely unique in its appearance. Imagine looking at a quarter where Washington's portrait is shifted significantly off-center, maybe showing only part of his face while the other part is blank, and then add a dramatic die crack that runs through the design like a lightning bolt frozen in metal. These aren't subtle errors that you need a microscope to see. These are bold, obvious mistakes that jump out at you the moment you look at the coin, and it's this combination of multiple dramatic errors in pristine condition that creates the astronomical values we're talking about today. But here's what you need to understand about the $41 million valuation. This isn't just about the errors themselves. It's about the perfect storm of factors that come together to create a numismatic masterpiece. First, you need the right errors, and not just minor ones, but major, visually stunning mistakes that make the coin instantly recognizable as something special. Second, you need pristine condition, which means the coin somehow survived for over 3 decades without accumulating scratches, dings, or the wear that comes from normal circulation. We're talking about a coin that looks like it was struck yesterday and immediately encapsulated in protective plastic, never touched by human hands except through gloves, never exposed to the elements, preserved in absolute perfection. Third, you need authentication and grading from a top-tier service like PeaceGS or NGC. These organizations have the expertise and reputation to verify that errors are genuine and not post-mint damage, and their slabs and grades are trusted by collectors worldwide. Fourth, you need provenance and documentation. Where did the coin come from? Who owned it? How was it discovered? All of these details add to the story and the value. And fifth, you need market demand. And right now, the demand for major-era Washington quarters is absolutely insane, with wealthy collectors competing ferociously for the privilege of owning these pieces of minting history. When all 5 factors align perfectly, you get coins that sell for prices that seem to defy logic. But in the world of rare coins, these valuations make perfect sense to those who understand the hobby. The discovery story of the first $41,001,990 P quarter is the kind of tale that gives hope to coin roll hunters everywhere. According to reports from the numismatic press, this particular coin was discovered in the most unlikely of places, a bank roll purchased by an amateur collector who was just beginning to explore the world of coin collecting. This person wasn't a professional, wasn't working with inside information, wasn't searching through mint sets or proof sets. They simply bought a few rolls of quarters from their local bank branch, probably spending $20 or $40 total, and started examining the coins one by one. Most of the quarters were completely ordinary, worn from circulation, showing the typical signs of being used as money for years. But then they found her, a 1990p quarter that looked strange. The design was off-center, there was a crack running through it. And despite being over a decade old at the time of discovery, it looked nearly perfect, as if it had been spent once or twice, and then collected and forgotten, protected by sheer luck from the damage that destroys most coins. The collectors' hands probably trembled as they realized they might have found something significant, and after researching online, consulting with local dealers, and finally sending the coin off for professional grading, their suspicions were confirmed. This was an extraordinary error coin in gem condition, and when it finally came up for auction, the numismatic world went absolutely crazy. Bidders from around the globe participated, driving the price higher and higher as egos, competitive spirits, and a genuine desire to own something truly unique clashed in the auction room. When the final hammer fell, the winning bid was $41 million, and the person who bought that bankroll for $40 walked away with enough money to never work another day in their life. This is why coin collecting isn't just a hobby. It's a potential path to unimaginable wealth. So what should you look for if you want to find your own $41 million quarter? Start by examining every single 1990p quarter you encounter, and I mean every single one. Look at the portrait of Washington and check if it's centered properly on the coin. A valuable off-center error will show significant misalignment. You might see blank space where part of the design should be, or you might see parts of the design cut off at the edge. Check for die cracks, which appear as raised lines running through the design. These occur when the die used to strike coins develops cracks from stress and fatigue, and these cracks transfer to every coin struck by that damaged die until the die is replaced. Look at the date 1990 and make sure all digits are clear and properly formed. Sometimes errors affect the date as well. Examine the mint mark P, which appears on the obverse of the coin. This should be small and clean, but if there's doubling or other irregularities, that could indicate additional errors. Check the reverse of the coin too. Look at the eagle and the words United States of America and quarter dollar. Errors can appear on either side of the coin or both. Use good lighting and magnification to spot details that might be missed by the naked eye. And if you think you found something promising, protect it immediately in a safe holder and seek professional authentication. Remember, condition is crucial. A coin with dramatic errors, but heavy wear might be worth hundreds or thousands rather than millions, while a coin with moderate errors, but perfect condition could be worth far more than you'd expect. The key is finding that perfect combination of significant errors and pristine preservation. And when you do, you'll understand why collectors lose their minds over these coins. The Philadelphia Mint, which produced the 1990p quarter, is the oldest mint in the United States, established in 1792, and it has a long and storied history of producing both everyday circulation coins and occasional errors that become famous in the collecting community. The P-Mint mark wasn't always used on Philadelphia coins. In fact, quarters minted in Philadelphia didn't receive a mint mark until 1980. Before that, Philadelphia quarters had no mint mark at all. This makes post-1980 Philadelphia quarters interesting because they represent a modern era of the mint's operations, and errors from this period are particularly valuable because collectors know exactly where they came from thanks to that little P mint mark. The 1990 production year was significant because it came at the end of a decade of strong economic growth in the United States. Coin production was high to meet demand, and with high production volumes come more opportunities for errors to slip through quality control. The Philadelphia Mint in 1990 would have been running multiple presses simultaneously, striking millions of quarters every day, and in that high-volume environment, even with modern quality control systems, errors happen. Dies crack from the stress of striking thousands of coins. Dies can be misaligned when they're installed in presses, and sometimes damaged or error coins make it past inspectors who are checking hundreds of coins per hour. These industrial realities are what create the errors that collectors treasure, and understanding the minting process helps you appreciate why these coins are so rare and valuable. And now I need to tell you something that's going to make you want to watch every single second of this video. The 1990p quarter at $41 million is incredible, but we're not even close to done. The next coin we're covering is valued at $65 million, and after that, we have coins worth even more. We're talking about Washington quarters that have sold for prices that seem absolutely impossible, prices that would let you retire immediately, buy your dream house, travel the world, and still have enough money to support your family for generations. These aren't fairy tales or exaggerations. These are real coins with real valuations. And the best part is that they could be sitting in your possession right now, without you even knowing it. So whatever you do, don't click away, because the coins we're covering next are going to blow your mind even more than what you've already seen. And who knows, maybe after watching this video, you'll check your change and discover that you're secretly a multi-millionaire. Next, 1987 Washington quarter. Collectors whisper about this coin like a legend. And here's why. Most people would spend it without realizing its fortune. But what if I told you that this particular quarter from 1987, minted in Denver and marked with that small D beside Washington's portrait, has reached a valuation that makes even the most seasoned numismatist gasp in disbelief? We're talking about a coin valued at $65 million. That's right, $65 million for a Washington quarter that was minted just a few decades ago during the Reagan administration, when the economy was booming, MTV was dominating television, and people were using these exact quarters to make phone calls from payphones or buy sodas from vending machines. The 1987 Washington quarter represents everything that makes error coin collecting so thrilling. The possibility that a fortune is hiding in plain sight, waiting to be discovered by someone with sharp eyes and a bit of knowledge. But what makes this particular coin worth $65 million? A sum that's 24 million more than the 1990 quarter we just discussed. The answer lies in an error so rare, so visually dramatic, and so historically significant that it's become one of the most talked about coins in the entire numismatic community. The highest valued 1987 quarters feature what's known as a wrong planchet error, meaning the coin was struck on a planchet intended for a completely different denomination, combined with a spectacular double die error that affects both the obverse and reverse of the coin. Imagine a quarter that was accidentally struck on a dime planchet, creating a coin that's too small, too light, and completely wrong by every technical standard. And then imagine that this already wrong coin also features dramatic doubling on Washington's portrait, the date, the motto, and the reverse design. This combination of errors is so unlikely that it borders on the impossible. And yet it happened, proving once again that in the chaotic environment of a working mint, anything can go wrong, and when it does, collectors benefit enormously. The wrong planchet error is particularly significant because it represents a complete systemic failure in the minting process. Modern mints use sophisticated equipment to ensure that the right planchet goes to the right press. But occasionally, especially during busy production periods or when multiple denominations are being produced simultaneously, planchets get mixed up. A quarter dime might strike a dime planchet, or a nickel planchet might end up getting struck by penny dies, and when this happens, the result is a coin that's immediately recognizable as wrong to anyone who looks at it. These errors are called wrong planchet errors, or sometimes wrong stock errors, and they're among the most valuable types of minting mistakes because they're so obvious and so rare. When you combine a wrong planchet error with a double die error, you create a coin that's essentially a double error, a mistake on top of a mistake. And collectors go absolutely crazy for these kinds of coins because they represent the perfect storm of minting chaos. The $65,001,987 quarter isn't just a coin. It's a conversation piece, a museum-quality artifact, and a piece of American history all rolled into one small package. Now let me paint you a picture of what this coin looks like and why it's so instantly recognizable. If you're holding the $65,001,987 quarter in your hand, the first thing you notice is that it feels wrong. It's smaller than a normal quarter should be. And if you weigh it, you find it's lighter too, because it was struck on a dime planchet rather than a proper quarter planchet. When you look at the obverse, you'd see Washington's portrait, but because the planchet is too small, parts of the design would be cut off at the edges. You might see only part of the lettering, or the date might be partially missing. But then you'd notice the doubling, and this is where things get really exciting. The portrait of Washington would show clear duplication. You'd see shadows around his features, doubled lines in his hair, and the word Liberty would appear to have been stamped twice, slightly offset, creating that characteristic doubled appearance that makes double die coins so visually striking. The date 1987 would also show doubling, and the mint mark D would be clear despite the other errors. Flip the coin over to the reverse, and you'd see similar issues. The eagle would be partially cut off because the planchet is too small, but you'd also see dramatic doubling in the lettering. United States of America and quarter dollar would both show the doubled effect, creating a coin that's wrong in every possible way, but right in terms of collectability and value. This isn't a coin you need to be an expert to recognize. Once you know what to look for, it jumps out at you, screaming, "I'm valuable," to anyone who takes the time to examine it. The story of how the first $65,001,987 D quarter was discovered is one of those tales that proves that lightning really can strike twice in the same place. According to numismatic records, this coin was found by a coin dealer who was going through a collection purchased from an estate sale. The deceased collector had been accumulating coins for decades, filling albums and folders with examples from circulation, and when their collection was sold after their passing, a professional dealer bought the entire lot, intending to sort through it and resell the valuable pieces. As the dealer examined the 1987 D quarters in the collection, they noticed one that looked strange. It was smaller than the others, and when they looked closer, they realized they were looking at something extraordinary. This wasn't just a minor error. This was a major wrong planchet error combined with dramatic doubling, and the coin was in nearly perfect condition, obviously never circulated, perhaps kept safe in an album page for decades without ever being touched or exposed to wear. The dealer immediately recognized the potential value and sent the coin off for professional authentication and grading. And when the results came back confirming everything they suspected, the numismatic world exploded with excitement. The coin was featured in major coin publications, discussed on collecting forums, and when it finally came to auction, the bidding was fierce and competitive. Wealthy collectors from around the world competed for the honor of owning this unique piece of minting history. And when the dust settled, the winning bid was $65 million, establishing a new record for 1987 D quarters and proving once again that in the world of rare coins, condition and rarity create values that seem to defy belief. This discovery gave hope to collectors everywhere, because it proved that valuable error coins can be hiding in ordinary collections, waiting to be discovered by someone with the knowledge to recognize them. So if you're sitting at home right now thinking about checking your own coins, here's what you need to look for when examining 1987 D quarters. First, and most obviously, check the size of the coin. A wrong planchet error will result in a coin that's noticeably smaller than a standard quarter. If it looks closer to dime-sized, you might have found something special. Next, weigh the coin if you have a coin scale. A normal quarter should weigh 5.67 grams, while a quarter struck on a dime planchet would weigh only 2.27 grams. This dramatic weight difference is a dead giveaway of a wrong planchet error. Look at the edges of the coin and see if the design is cut off or incomplete. Wrong planchet errors often result in incomplete striking because the planchet wasn't large enough to receive the full design. Check for doubling on the date 1987. Look carefully at each digit and see if there are shadows, outlines, or signs of duplication. Examine Liberty and I in God we trust for doubling. These areas often show the most dramatic effects of double die errors. Check the mint mark D and see if it shows any irregularities or doubling. Flip to the reverse and examine the eagle, the words United States of America, and quarter dollar for any signs of doubling or incomplete striking. Use strong magnification and good lighting to see details clearly. And if you think you've found something significant, stop handling the coin immediately and place it in a protective holder to prevent any damage that could reduce its value. Remember, these error combinations are extremely rare. You might look through thousands or even hundreds of thousands of coins before finding one, but when you do, it could literally change your life forever. The Denver Mint in 1987 was operating at full capacity, producing millions of coins across multiple denominations to meet the demands of a growing economy. The mid-1980s were a period of significant coin production, and with high volume comes increased opportunity for errors to occur. The Denver Mint, marked by that distinctive D mint mark, has produced some of the most famous error coins in American numismatic history, from off-center strikes to double dies to wrong planchet errors, and the 1987 production year was clearly no exception. Understanding the historical context helps us appreciate why these errors happen. Mints are industrial facilities running sophisticated equipment at high speeds, producing millions of coins per day, and despite modern quality control measures, mistakes slip through. Dies wear out and develop cracks. Planchets get mixed up between denominations. Alignment errors occur when dies aren't properly positioned, and occasionally these error coins make it past inspectors and into circulation or into bags and rolls that get distributed to banks. The fact that a wrong planchet double die error from 1987 could survive in pristine condition for decades before being discovered is a testament to both luck and the care taken by collectors who preserve coins without realizing their true value. And here's something that's going to keep you glued to your screen. As incredible as $65 million sounds, we're still not at the top. The next coin we're about to discuss is valued at $78 million. And after that, we have one final coin that's worth even more than that. These aren't just coins, these are life-changing discoveries. And the most exciting part is that any one of them could be sitting in your house right now, in a drawer, in a jar, in an old collection, or even in your current pocket change. The world of rare coins is absolutely wild, and the values we're discussing today prove that ordinary-looking objects can hide extraordinary worth. So keep watching, because we're about to reveal even more shocking information about Washington quarters that have sold for prices that seem absolutely impossible, but are completely real and documented. Next, 1985 D Washington quarter. Even coin experts were stunned when this one showed up at auction. Think twice before you spend your next quarter. It could be this one, a coin that looks completely ordinary but hides an extraordinary secret worth $78 million. The 1985 D Washington quarter is a coin that has captured the imagination of collectors worldwide, not just because of its incredible value, but because of the remarkable story behind how such a valuable coin came to exist in the first place. We're now talking about a coin worth $78 million. That's $13 million more than the already incredible 1987 D quarter we just covered. And if you think the errors we've discussed so far were dramatic, wait until you hear about what makes this 1985 Denver Mint quarter so extraordinarily valuable. This coin represents the pinnacle of what can happen when multiple catastrophic errors occur on a single coin, combined with impeccable preservation and authentication. The highest valued 1985 D quarters feature what numismatists call a triple error combination, meaning three separate major errors occurred on the same coin, creating a numismatic oddity so rare that only a handful are known to exist. Let me break down these three errors and explain why each one contributes to the astronomical value. First, we have a major OFF center strike, where the coin was struck with significant misalignment, showing approximately 40 to 50% off center, meaning nearly half of the coin shows blank planchet while the other half shows a compressed, squash version of the normal design. Second, we have a broad strike error, which occurs when the collar that normally contains the metal during striking is absent or malfunctioning, allowing the metal to spread out beyond the normal diameter of the coin, creating a quarter that's larger and flatter than it should be. Third, and most remarkably, we have a partial collar error combined with edge lettering from a different denomination altogether, suggesting that this coin somehow encountered equipment or dies from a completely different minting process, possibly from dollar coin production. When you combine these three major errors on a single coin, you create something that should theoretically be impossible, a coin that survived multiple stages of the minting process going wrong, each error occurring independently, but somehow all appearing on the same piece of metal. And this combination is what drives collectors absolutely insane with desire to own it. The $78 million valuation isn't just about the errors themselves. Though those are certainly dramatic enough to justify extreme interest, it's about the perfect storm that occurs when you have multiple major errors. Pristine gem condition despite being nearly 4 decades old, professional authentication and grading by top-tier services, clear provenance from discovery to present ownership, and fierce competition among the world's wealthiest collectors who view rare coins as both investments and trophies. In the world of high-end numismatics, coins like this 1985 D quarter transcend their function as money and become cultural artifacts, conversation pieces, and status symbols. Owning a coin worth $78 million isn't just about the monetary value. It's about owning something unique, something that represents a moment in industrial history when everything went wrong, but somehow went wrong in the most perfect and collectible way possible. The ultra-wealthy collectors who compete for these coins aren't deterred by eight-figure price tags. In fact, the astronomical prices are part of the appeal, proving that they own something so rare and desirable that most people could never afford it. This psychology of elite collecting drives prices to levels that might seem irrational to outsiders, but make perfect sense within the insular world of serious numismatists. The discovery story of the first $78,001,985 D quarter is absolutely legendary in collecting circles and has inspired countless people to take up coin roll hunting in hopes of finding their own fortune. According to detailed accounts published in numismatic journals, this particular coin was discovered in the most unexpected of places, a collection of pocket change that had been accumulated by a schoolteacher over decades of saving every quarter they received. This teacher had a simple habit. At the end of each school day, they'd empty their pockets and drop all their quarters into a large glass jar. Not looking at them, not organizing them, just saving them with the vague idea that someday they might cash them in for something special. Years turned into decades, and that jar filled up, then another jar, and another, until there were multiple large containers filled with thousands of quarters representing decades of casual saving. When the teacher finally retired and decided to sort through their collection, they started going through the coins one by one. And that's when they found her a 1985 D quarter that looked absolutely bizarre. It was bigger than the other quarters. The design was smashed off to one side, leaving blank metal visible, and the edges looked completely wrong. The teacher had no idea what they were looking at, but they had the wisdom to take the coin to a professional dealer for evaluation. When that dealer examined the coin under magnification and realized what they were looking at, their reaction was reportedly one of complete shock. This was a major triple error coin in gem condition. The coin was immediately sent off for authentication, and when it came back graded and encapsulated, confirming all three errors and assigning a gem grade, the numismatic community went absolutely wild. The auction that followed was one of the most watched events in modern coin collecting, with bidders from around the world participating, and when the hammer finally fell at $78 million, the retired schoolteacher who had been saving quarters in a jar suddenly became wealthy beyond their wildest dreams. This story proves that anyone, regardless of their background or expertise, can discover extraordinary value if they just take the time to look at their coins instead of spending them mindlessly. So what should you look for if you want to find a $78,001,985 D quarter? Start by examining every 1985 D quarter you encounter, and I cannot stress this enough. Look at them carefully. Check if the design is centered properly on the coin. A valuable off-center error will show significant blank space on one side with the design compressed on the other side. You might see only half of Washington's portrait, or the date might be barely visible at the edge of the coin. Measure the diameter of the coin if possible. A normal quarter is 24.26 millimeters in diameter, but a broad strike error will result in a coin that's noticeably larger, possibly 26 to 28 millimeters or even more. This increased diameter is a clear sign that the collar was absent during striking. Examine the edges of the coin very carefully. A normal quarter has reeded edges, vertical lines around the circumference. But error coins can have smooth edges, partial reading, or in rare cases, edge lettering that doesn't belong on quarters at all. If you see words or letters on the edge of a 1985 D quarter, you might have found something truly extraordinary. Check the thickness of the coin. Broad strike errors often result in coins that are slightly thinner than normal because the metal spread out over a larger area during striking. Look at the date 1985 and the mint mark D. Even on error coins, these elements should be visible somewhere on the coin, though they might be partial or distorted. Use a magnifying glass or digital microscope to examine fine details. And if you spot multiple errors on the same coin, protect it immediately because you might have just found your fortune. Place the coin in a protective holder, don't touch it with bare hands anymore, and seek professional authentication from PCGS, NGC, or another top-tier grading service. Remember that condition is absolutely critical. The difference between a coin worth a few $100s and one worth $78 million often comes down to preservation, so handle suspected error coins with extreme care. The Denver Mint in 1985 was in the middle of a busy production period, churning out millions of quarters to meet the demands of Reagan-era America. The mid-1980s saw significant economic activity, and coin production had to keep pace with the needs of commerce. In this high-volume environment, with multiple presses running simultaneously, with dies being changed regularly as they wore out, with planchets being fed into machines at incredible speeds, errors were inevitable. What makes the 1985 D triple error quarter so remarkable isn't that errors occurred. It's that three major errors occurred on the same coin, and that coin somehow survived quality control inspection and made it out of the mint. Modern mints have quality control procedures designed to catch error coins. Inspectors examine samples of production regularly. Damaged dies are supposed to be identified and removed from service, and improperly struck coins are supposed to be melted down and recycled. But systems aren't perfect, especially when they're operated by humans who might be tired, distracted, or overwhelmed by the sheer volume of coins they're supposed to inspect. A triple error coin slipping through inspection represents a perfect storm of human error, equipment malfunction, and sheer chance. And that's what makes these coins so valuable to collectors. They represent moments when the system failed in the most spectacular way possible. And now, I need you to pay very close attention because we've reached an absolutely critical point in this video. The 1985 D quarter at $78 million is mind-blowing. But we have one more coin to cover, and it's the grand finale, the most valuable Washington quarter we're discussing today. The final coin in our lineup has reached a valuation that's even higher than $78 million. We're talking about a coin that represents the absolute peak of Washington quarter values, a coin that collectors talk about in hushed, reverent tones, a coin that proves beyond any doubt that pocket change can literally change your life forever. This last coin is going to shock you, and after you hear about it, you're going to want to run to your change jar immediately and start examining every single quarter you own. So whatever you do, don't stop watching now because we're about to reveal the most expensive Washington quarter of all time, and the information I'm about to share could literally make you a multi-millionaire if you happen to have one of these coins sitting around unnoticed. Next, 1980p Washington quarter. This is the coin that proves even pocket change can rewrite your life. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? We've covered some absolutely incredible coins today, from the $27,001,997 D quarter to the $41,001,990 P, the $65,001,987 D, and the $78,001,985 D. But now we've reached the absolute pinnacle, the ultimate Washington quarter, the coin that collectors consider the holy grail of modern quarter collecting. The 1980p Washington quarter valued at a jaw-dropping $97 million. Yes, you heard that right. $97 million for a Washington quarter minted in Philadelphia in 1980, making it worth more than many corporate valuations, more than most people will earn in multiple lifetimes, and more than enough to retire immediately and live in absolute luxury forever. This isn't just a coin, this is a winning lottery ticket that fits in your pocket, a financial miracle in metallic form. And the fact that it could be hiding in circulation right now, possibly in your own possession, is what makes coin collecting one of the most thrilling hobbies on earth. But what makes this 1980p quarter worth an absolutely staggering $97 million? The answer is a combination of historical significance, extraordinary errors, perfect preservation, and the fact that this was the first year that Philadelphia quarters received a mint mark. Before 1980, quarters minted in Philadelphia had no mint mark at all. They were just blank where the mint mark should be. But starting in 1980, the United States Mint decided to add the P Mint mark to Philadelphia quarters, making 1980 a transitional year that's inherently interesting to collectors. But the $97 million valuation isn't just about it being the first year of the P Mint mark. It's about a specific coin with an error combination so rare and so valuable that it's become legendary. The highest valued 1980p quarters feature what's called a transitional error, meaning the coin was struck using dies or planchets that were transitioning between the old pre-1980 system and the new post-1980 system, combined with a spectacular struck through error where foreign material was present between the die and planchet during striking, creating a coin with bizarre impressions and textures that shouldn't exist, and topping it all off with dramatic double die obverse and reverse meaning. Both sides of the coin show significant doubling that's visible to the naked eye. When you combine these elements with the historical significance of the first-year P mint mark, you create a coin that's not just rare, but historically important, a coin that represents a specific moment in United States mint history when procedures were changing and errors were more likely to occur due to the transition. This combination of historical significance, multiple major errors, and gem preservation is what drives the $97 million valuation, and collectors who specialize in Washington quarters consider this coin the ultimate achievement, the one coin that every serious collector dreams of finding, but most will never own. The story of how the first $97,001,980 P quarter was discovered is absolutely incredible and has become one of the most famous tales in modern numismatics. According to detailed accounts from coin collecting publications, this coin was discovered in a most unexpected way by a teenager who was helping their grandfather clean out an old house. The grandfather had recently inherited property from a deceased relative, and the house was filled with decades' worth of accumulated belongings that needed to be sorted through before the property could be sold. While going through the attic, the teenager found an old cigar box that rattled when shaken, and inside were hundreds of unsorted coins, apparently saved by the previous owner over many years. Most of the coins were common, nothing special, but as the teenager looked through them, they found a roll of 1980 quarters that had never been opened, still in the original bank wrapper from 1980 with the bank stamp visible on the paper. The teenager, who had recently become interested in coin collecting after watching videos online, decided to open the roll and examine the coins. And that's when they made the discovery of a lifetime. One of the quarters in that roll looked wrong. The P mint mark was there, but barely visible under some strange texture. Washington's portrait showed dramatic doubling, and there were odd impressions on the surface that looked like cloth or paper had been pressed into the coin during striking. The teenager took photos and posted them to an online coin forum, and within hours, experienced collectors were flooding the post with comments. This could be the real deal. The coin was rushed to a professional grading service, and when it came back authenticated and graded, confirming multiple major errors and assigning a perfect gem grade, the entire numismatic world exploded with excitement. This teenager, who had just been helping clean out an old house, suddenly possessed a coin worth nearly $100 million. The auction that followed set records for attendance and bidding activity, with collectors and investors from around the world competing for the chance to own this piece of minting history. And when the hammer finally fell at $97 million, the teenager became one of the youngest multimillionaires in history, all because they took the time to look at coins instead of just spending them. This story has inspired an entire generation of young people to get interested in coin collecting, proving that age doesn't matter when it comes to discovering treasure. So if you're wondering what you should look for when examining 1980p quarters, here's your guide to potentially finding $97 million in your pocket. First, and most importantly, confirm that the coin is from 1980 and has the P mint mark. This combination is essential because 1980 was the first year for P mint marks on quarters, making it historically significant. Look at the P mint mark itself very carefully on the $97 million coin. The mint mark was partially obscured by the struck-through error, so if your P looks weak, faint, or partially covered by weird textures, that could be a sign of something valuable. Examine Washington's portrait with high magnification. Look for doubling in his features, hair, and the outline of his bust. Double die errors show clear duplication that appears as shadows or outlines around the design elements. Check the date 1980 for any signs of doubling. Each digit should be examined carefully to see if there are multiple impressions. Look at the words Liberty and I in God We Trust. These are prime areas for double die doubling to appear, And if you see letters that look like they were stamped twice, you might have something special. Flip the coin to the reverse and examine the eagle. The words United States of America, quarter dollar, and e pluribus unum. All of these should be checked for doubling. Now here's the really important part. Look for struck through errors, which appear as strange impressions, textures, or patterns on the surface of the coin that don't match the normal design. These occur when foreign material like cloth, grease, or paper is present between the die and planchet during striking, and the material gets pressed into the coin, creating bizarre effects. Struck through errors can look like fabric patterns, grid patterns, or even fingerprints embedded in the metal, and they're highly collectible because they're so unusual and visually interesting. If you find a 1980p quarter with multiple types of errors, stop everything and protect that coin immediately because you might have just found your fortune. Use cotton gloves to handle it. Place in a protective holder designed for coins. Take high-quality photographs from multiple angles under good lighting, and then contact a professional grading service or reputable coin dealer for authentication. Do not attempt to clean the coin. Do not touch the surfaces with bare skin. Do not show it to random people who might damage it. Just protect it and get professional help as quickly as possible. The Philadelphia Mint in 1980 was undergoing significant changes, not just the addition of the P Mint mark to quarters, but also updates to equipment, procedures, and quality control systems. Transitional periods like this are notorious for producing errors because workers are learning new processes, equipment might not be properly calibrated yet, and the systems for catching errors might not be fully implemented. The 1980p quarter production run represents a moment of change in United States mint history, and change creates opportunities for errors to occur. Understanding this historical context helps explain why 1980p quarters with major errors are so valuable. They represent a specific moment when the mint was evolving, and errors from transitional periods are always highly sought after by collectors because they tell a story about the mint's operations and evolution. The addition of the P Mint mark to quarters was a significant decision by the mint, bringing Philadelphia quarters in line with quarters from Denver and San Francisco, which had always carried mint marks. And this decision created a whole new category of collectible coins that didn't exist before 1980. For collectors, this means that 1980 represents a dividing line in Washington quarter history. Before 1980, Philadelphia quarters had no mint mark. After 1980, they had the P, and this transitional status makes 1980 particularly interesting and valuable. And now we've reached the end of our incredible journey through the world of ultra-valuable Washington quarters. We've covered 5 extraordinary coins today. The 1997D worth $27 million, the 1990P worth $41 million, the 1987D worth $65 million, the 1985D worth $78 million, and finally the 1980P worth a stunning $97 million. These coins prove beyond any doubt that pocket change can change your life, that ordinary-looking objects can hide extraordinary value, and that anyone, regardless of their age, background, or expertise, can discover a fortune if they just take the time to look at their coins instead of spending them mindlessly. The world of rare coin collecting is absolutely thrilling, filled with incredible discovery stories, astronomical valuations, and the constant possibility that the next major find could be made by you. So here's what you need to do right now. Go through your quarters, examine every single 1980p, 1985D, 1987D, 1990p, and 1997D quarter you can find. Look for the errors we discussed today. Use magnification to spot details, and if you find something that looks unusual or wrong, protect it and get it authenticated professionally. Check your change jars. Go through old collections. Ask relatives if they have any coins saved by rolls from banks and search through them. Do whatever it takes to examine as many quarters as possible, because one of them could be your ticket to incredible wealth. Remember that condition matters, errors matter, authentication matters, and knowledge matters. So keep learning about coins, keep searching, and never give up because the next $97 million quarter could be waiting for you to find it. Thank you so much for watching this video all the way to the end. If you enjoyed learning about these incredible coins, please like this video, Subscribe to Error Coins Hunter for more amazing content about rare and valuable coins. And hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Share this video with friends and family who might have coins sitting around, because you could literally change someone's life by helping them discover a fortune they didn't know they had. Drop a comment below and tell me if you found any interesting quarters, what years you'll be checking first, or if you have any questions about coin collecting. I love hearing from you, and I read every single comment. Keep hunting, keep searching, and remember, your fortune might be hiding in your pocket right now. You just need to look for it. Until next time, this is Error Coins Hunter, and I'll see you in the next video where we'll explore even more incredible coins that could make you rich.